What's happening, everybody, on this Wednesday, March 26th, 2025? My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We are awaiting the White House press briefing with Carolyn Levitt. I'm sure she will go over all of the new executive orders and whatnot. Obviously, I'm sure she will be asked about Signalgate, a story that I don't give a shit about, a story that I don't care about whatsoever. Aside from the fact that Signal, really, I mean, what the hell are we doing here? What are we doing here? We're going to get to that in a little bit. Obviously, as I said, we are awaiting the White House press briefing at the moment. So, guys, do me a favor before we get rocking, before we get rolling, hit that thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place, share it out, share it out, share it out. Christine, nice opening. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love my opening. The person who made it is absolutely phenomenal. The person who made it is absolutely phenomenal. There's not a chance I did. Not a chance. Once again, we are awaiting the press briefing of Carolyn Levitt, which should be coming at the top. Well, right now. How many questions will she get about the chat? That's probably going to be what most of them is about, despite the fact many of us do not care. Many of us probably don't care whatsoever. Guys, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Share the video out. This show is brought to you by Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. We got the live chat up on the screen. Once again, guys, we are awaiting Carolyn Levitt over at the White House press briefing. Also, guys, big news. Tomorrow, on tomorrow's show, for all the, I'll make this announcement at the end of the show as well. We are going to be joined by Paula Scanlon. Paula Scanlon was a swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania and was a teammate of Leah Thomas's. So we're going to be talking about a lot of men and women's sports stuff. We're going to be talking about how to get involved and her work with Early Vote Action. Of course, that's Scott Pressler's organization there. So we're going to be joined by Paula Scanlon tomorrow. Super excited about that. Paula's a good friend of the show. Obviously, Scott Pressler doing kick-ass work with his organization. Shout out to everybody watching in the chat. Boom. Let's go. Once again, hit the thumbs up button. Before we get to Carolyn Levitt, there are a few stories that I want to get to. And look, I've been doom and gloom recently. I have been. Let's be honest here. Actually, considering this next story I'm going to read, that's actually really funny. But every so often, we pick up wins in the culture war. We pick up huge wins in the culture war. And a big one we just picked up that we just found out about today, that Anheuser-Busch, which of course is the company that makes beer for poor people, pulls their support from the St. Louis Pride Festival after 30 years of participation. Finally, some of the funding is not going to go to these ridiculous entities. Brewing company Anheuser-Busch, whose headquarters is located in St. Louis, has pulled its support from the St. Louis Pride Fest after 30 years. Nonprofit Pride of St. Louis announced the company's move on Tuesday, with organization president Marty Zuniga saying that Anheuser-Busch had been a key supporter for the last 30 years. For them to walk away from the table in negotiations, simply to note that we just don't see the value in it anymore. It's like a bad breakup. He noted that other large corporate sponsors are coming in at historic lows in terms of funding, leaving the organization about $150,000 below its target goal, which, if I'm being honest with you, isn't the worst thing in the world. Isn't the worst thing in the world. Some of these companies are starting to realize that, you know what, maybe, just maybe, it is not in the best interest of many of these large Fortune 500 companies to invest in the fringe of America. Because guess what? Anheuser-Busch, name the company, I don't really care which one it is. They don't care about black, they don't care about white, they don't care about brown. They don't care about straight. They don't care about gay. You know what they care about? Green. That's what they care about. And they're starting to see that their bottom line is slipping. With the $6 billion in market cap that Bud Light lost after the Dylan Mulvaney stunt, they're starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, the American people are not on board with these shenanigans. It's just something to think about. More corporations will continue to follow this. Because now that one is pulled out, I believe that many will continue to pull out as well. Now, I want to be clear. You want to have your gay pride parade? Have a party. Do whatever the hell you want to do. I don't really care. But it's going to be a little bit harder when you're coming up short on the funds. Maybe, just maybe, and I said this the other day, maybe companies were not too keen on, I don't know, videos of men peeing on each other at like we saw at the San Francisco Pride Parade. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. Companies are beginning to see that, you know what, they rode this social trend long enough, and now people don't want it anymore. They don't want it anymore. And they're dealing with the repercussions of that. They're dealing with the repercussions of it. I mean, look, I'll never buy Bud Light again. I'll be honest with you. I really wasn't much of a Bud Light drinker to begin with. If it's the only thing available, I would have had it. But now I'll move on to something else. As you guys know, I'm a Miller Lite fan. Or, I actually get nothing for this, but the Ultra Right Beer Company. I get nothing for that. Shout out to Seth Weathers. Great beer. I like beer. I still like beer. But companies are beginning to see that this is no longer a profitable entity. And because of that, they're starting to move on. Donna's right. Robbie Starbuck did do a hell of a lot on this. Shout out to everybody watching in the chat. We got AC Knight. We got Marie. How are you? Donna DiBiase, as always. Hello. Terry, how are you? Tim Hoff, what's up in upstate New York? I know you guys don't think you're upstate, but you are. You know, it's part of life. It's part of life. Also, for my friends in New Jersey, you may be seeing me this Saturday. Just saying, for all my Jersey peeps, I may be out in the Garden State. If I leave now, I might make it to New Jersey in time by Saturday, because you guys just can't stop with the traffic. You can't stop with the traffic. I don't know what the hell's going on. Guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place as the numbers begin to roll in. Big number. Also, once again, where the hell is it? What the hell did I do? For anybody, for my Long Island crew, once again, guys, this Saturday, for anybody who's interested, let me pull this up real quick. For anybody who's interested, Chris Macchio, America's Tenor, is going to be at the Paramount Theater in Huntington. Guys, check that out. Chris is absolutely awesome. A real patriot, a real leader in the movement. Check that out this weekend. Guys, I am going to throw it over to Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt.
Today, President Trump has secured trillions of dollars in private and foreign investments. Every single day, more money is pouring into our country, which will create more jobs for hardworking Americans. Today, Schneider Electric pledged to invest more than $700 million in the United States to boost American energy infrastructure and AI. On Monday, Hyundai announced a $20 billion investment in the United States, including $5.8 billion for a new steel plant in Louisiana, which will create nearly 1,500 high-paying jobs. President Trump is truly turning America back into a manufacturing superpower. Yesterday, President Trump marked National Medal of Honor Day by meeting with 21 of our nation's bravest heroes and incredible patriots who have been awarded the highest military honor. Beautiful picture. The president also signed a historic executive order to protect the integrity of American elections by strengthening voter citizenship verification and banning foreign nationals from interfering in U.S. elections. These are the common sense solutions that only Democrats could oppose. But voters deserve elections they can trust, and critical confidence is being restored thanks to President Trump's leadership. Later this afternoon in the East Room, President Trump will mark Women's History Month by honoring the exceptional women around our country, including the highly talented women in his administration and his cabinet. And on an additional scheduling update, the president will hold a press conference in the Oval Office today at 4:00 p.m. to announce tariffs on the auto industry, and I will leave that to him to make that announcement later. Unfortunately, all of this good is happening for our country. This administration is working hard on behalf of the American public every day, but the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. Here are the facts. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this matter, and the National Security Council immediately said, alongside the White House counsel's office, that they are looking into how a reporter's number was inadvertently added to this messaging thread. We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread. There were no locations, no sources, or methods revealed, and there were certainly no war plans discussed. The Atlantic has even admitted this themselves. Their release of these internal messages validates the truth, which we have been saying all along. If this story proves anything, it proves that Democrats and their propagandists in the mainstream media know how to fabricate, orchestrate, and disseminate a misinformation campaign quite well. And there's arguably no one in the media who loves manufacturing and pushing hoaxes more than Jeffrey Goldberg. Goldberg is an anti-Trump hater. He is a registered Democrat. Goldberg's wife is also a registered Democrat and a big Democrat donor who used to work under who? Hillary Clinton. This is the same Jeffrey Goldberg who infamously lied about weapons of mass destruction to get us into the Iraq War, which cost trillions of dollars and thousands of American soldiers. And how else has Goldberg discredited himself? By absurdly claiming that President Trump was Vladimir Putin during the 2016 campaign, by peddling the Russia hoax that tried to hijack President Trump's first term, by inventing the suckers and losers hoax to help Joe Biden in the 2020 election, by peddling a hoax about President Trump involving Gold Star families to help Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, which our campaign at the time vigorously denied. Jeffrey Goldberg didn't care. There's more, but we don't have all day, and we can now add this Signal hoax to this very long list. The real story here is the overwhelming success of President Trump's decisive military action against Houthi terrorists. On March 15th, President Trump ordered a series of military operations against the terrorist Houthis to defend U.S. shipping assets in the Red Sea, restore freedom of navigation for international shipping, and defend the United States from enemy threats. United States forces successfully struck dozens of targets across Houthi-controlled territory. And as a result of these actions, several Houthi leaders were killed, including the Houthi drone chief, his deputy, and several of their drone experts and other key leaders. We also destroyed command and controlled facilities, weapons manufacturing facilities, and advanced weapons storage locations. And it's important to remember why this powerful action took place in the first place. Because of Joe Biden's incompetence and pathetic weakness on the world stage for years, the Houthi terrorists grew emboldened. Immediately after taking office in 2021, Joe Biden removed the Iran-backed Houthis from the foreign terrorist organization and specifically designated global terrorist list. Did anybody in this room ask the Biden administration at the time why they made such a stupid mistake? This reckless action undid the designation put in place by President Trump during his first term, and what followed was predictable and devastating. The Houthis targeted U.S. military ships and aircraft, hit commercial ships, including U.S. flagged vessels, threatened our personnel overseas, and attacked our allies in the region. This resulted in more than a year of U.S. flagged commercial ships being prevented from safely sailing through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden. This had a massive negative impact on global trade of the economic security of the United States. Joe Biden was the commander-in-chief, and he sat on his hands while the United States of America was bullied and embarrassed by terrorists. President Trump and his team are putting a stop to these threats and restoring American strength around the world. The Trump peace through strength approach means no terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. But unfortunately, this is not what the Democrats and the media want to talk about. They are focused on a coordinated campaign to try and sow chaos in this White House. And this has been the most successful first 2 months of any administration ever, which is exactly why they are doing this. We are not going to bend in the face of this insincere outrage. And here's just one example of how bad faith the Democrats' criticisms are. Democrat Senator Mark Warner is hysterical over the use of Signal, which is an approved decrypted app, in the killing of Houthi terrorists. But Senator Warner himself used Signal to work with a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch to connect the disgraced Steele dossier author who started the Russia hoax, which Jeffrey Goldberg later reported on. How ironic. We're not going to lose focus of the bottom line, which is that Joe Biden's weakness enabled and emboldened Houthi terrorists, and President Trump's strength and resolve eliminated those terrorists. Here in our new media seat today, we have Lindsay Keith. She is the managing editor for Merit TV and serves as their White House correspondent. Merit TV launched 1 year ago and creates and distributes content across diverse platforms. We're glad to have you with us, Lindsay. Please kick us off.
Thank you, Caroline. I appreciate it and this opportunity for Merit TV. Two questions, if I may. One on Signal, one on the economy.
Sure.
On Signal, how comfortable is the president with what was shared so far now that the chain has been released?
The president's view on all of this remains the same today as it did yesterday. And I think it speaks volumes about the leadership of this president that he went directly to all of you, members of the press corps. He was asked, do you want someone else to go out and do a briefing? And he said, no. I will tackle this story. I will discuss it. The people need to hear from me about this situation. And so his thoughts on this remain the same today. He has placed great trust in his national security team. And as for the usage of Signal, as the president said yesterday, as the CIA director has testified under oath, this is an approved app. It's an encrypted app. The Department of Defense, the Department of State, the CIA has it loaded onto government phones because it is the most secure and efficient way to communicate. As for, again, the original situation in this messaging thread, the National Security Council, the White House counsel's office continues to look in to how this mistake, which the National Security Advisor has owned, occurred, and the president has ensured they are doing that.
On the economy, consumer confidence hit a 4-year low this month. Can you help explain to the American people how tariffs will help them in the long run?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm grateful for the question. The American public will hear later this afternoon from the president directly on the topic of tariffs. And as you all know, April 2nd day, President Trump has proudly dubbed it Liberation Day for our country. What he means by that is it will be a day where the United States of America will no longer be ripped off by nations around this world. It will be a day where Americans finally see free and fair trade practices restored. We are no longer going to allow our allies, our competitors, and our adversaries to take advantage of American workers. And if you think about your hometown and the state that you grew up, Main Street looks a lot different today than it did many years ago. And President Trump wants to restore America as a manufacturing superpower around the globe. He wants products to be made right here in our great country with great hardworking American hands that will ultimately result in higher wages and more money in the pockets of the American people. And he's also, in addition to tariffs, also determined to pass tax cuts later this year, as he did successfully in his first term, to put even more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. Peter.
Caroline, if I can ask you very quickly about the information we've seen, just to set the predicate to all this. Has the president been briefed and physically seen he's seen all the details details of the chat as printed by the
I
Atlantic?
just spoke to the president about it, yes.
Then let me ask you if I can very quickly. In the chat, Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary, details F-18s, Tomahawks, so some of the weapons that were used. He details the timing involved for this, all of which occurred 31 minutes before, as he says, F-18s would launch. The DoD manual details classified information as significant military plans, saying that is secret, that's classified. So what about, there are no methods, there are no sources, but that's not what determines what's classified. So what is it about what Pete Hegseth wrote that makes you say this is not classified?
Well, it's not just me saying that, Peter. It's the Secretary of Defense himself
On what
who is
basis?
saying this as well. And he put out a very strong statement earlier today listing all of the things that were not included in that message that he sent to the group. And again, this message, there was no classified information transmitted. There were no war plans discussed. Why did the Atlantic downgrade their allegation about war plans to attack plans? They're now playing word games because they know this was sensationalist spin from a reporter who is well known for doing this. We have said all along no war plans were discussed, no classified material was sent. You have the Secretary of Defense saying that. You have the Director of the CIA, the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI Director, all testifying to that under oath, and they should be trusted with that.
To be clear, Americans can make the decision for themselves, but whether is the
Sure.
you said it's not war plans. Would you characterize these as military plans, military operation plans?
I would characterize this messaging thread as a policy discussion, a sensitive policy discussion, surely, amongst high-level cabinet officials and senior staff. And I'm so glad, Peter, that you said the American public can decide for themselves, because I think the American public should decide for themselves based on the outcome of this operation. And what happened in this operation? Terrorists that were allowed to run wild by the Biden administration were killed because of the direction and the determination of this president and his team. And this message also shows, this messaging thread also proved that President Trump has an incredibly dynamic team who is working incredibly hard, flying all over the world to secure world peace and to fix up the foreign policy crises that the previous administration left for this team to inherit.
So to be clear, we all in this room and around the country would agree that we're glad no American service members were harmed, and we're glad that the mission was a success. We'll stipulate that. But the president said that Pete Hegseth said none of this was classified. So given the president has seen it now, and given the president understands that significant military plans are deemed classified as secret, how does the president view none of this, which details times and weapons and more, as being not classified?
I've already been asked and answered this question. The president's thoughts on this remain the same today as they were yesterday,
On what basis,
as
I'm
well as the Secretary of Defense. This question has been asked and answered. There was no classified material discussed. Jackie.
On what basis I was asking?
Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. So why aren't launch times on a mission strike classified?
Again, I would defer you to the Secretary of Defense's statement he put out this morning. There were various reasons he listed, things that were not included in that messaging thread that were not classified. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? This president and this national security team are putting our national security and the American people first. We are restoring American strength around the world, and the results of this operation speak for themselves.
Putting aside Jeffrey Goldberg, though, just for for American service members who are going to have to carry out these missions in the future, what I guess the message that's coming from the response to all this that we're hearing is that nothing sensitive happened, and I guess the logical conclusion of that is that if these messages had gone out publicly prior to the launch, that wouldn't have been a risk to service members. I don't know that they're comfortable with that. So can you explain, had these messages been published, would the plans have moved forward? Would the launch have still taken off?
What I can tell you is that the president, as the commander-in-chief of our United States Armed Forces, and Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is an incredible man and a warfighter himself, take the lives of our American service members with the utmost responsibility, and they would never do anything intentionally to put their lives at risk. And again, they are working hard on that every single day, and we are protecting our service members while also restoring peace throughout this globe. It's something the previous administration has not done. And I would just add one more point. We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread. But above all, we take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
Goldberg's intentions, do you believe
Jennifer,
that he
go
would
ahead.
release that to embarrass the administration ahead of the worldwide threats?
Jennifer, go ahead.
Given what you've said about the president's trust in his national security team, can you say definitively that no one will lose their jobs? No one will lose their job at all because of this signal situation?
What I can say definitively is what I just spoke to the president about, and he continues to have confidence in his national security team.
Go
ahead.
One more, can I ask one more, Karen? On the targets in Yemen on March 15th, can you say were 100% of the targets that were planned for March 15th, were they all destroyed? Because that would be an indication if some of them were moved or they were not all hit, that maybe perhaps some of the enemies were able to get some of the information in that signal.
What I can say about the operation is what the Department of Defense has put out there. I would refer to them for any further operational details. But there have been more than 100 strikes conducted against Houthi targets, and they have hit key Houthi leaders, air defense systems, command and control nodes, headquarters, weapons manufacturing and storage facilities, and these operations will continue until the freedom of navigation in our seas is restored and U.S. shipping can safely transmit without the fear of attack. And again, we believe that this has been a very successful operation thus far, and it will continue until this administration feels it no longer has to, and these terrorists have been taken out, which again is something the previous administration should have done, but they didn't, and now we've inherited this crisis. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I'd like to clarify something about the investigation and also ask about some conservative commentary. On the investigation, Mike Waltz said last night that he had spoken to Elon Musk about figuring out how Jeffrey Goldberg's number got in his phone. You mentioned the NSC and the White House counsel's office investigating. Can you just clarify who is investigating, who's leading that, and also Dave Portnoy, who endorsed President Trump, said today that he thinks that Mike Waltz should leave. Could you respond to that?
Sure. Great respect for Dave Portnoy, but I just answered that previous question from Jennifer. As for your original question about who's looking into the messaging thread, the National Security Council, the White House counsel's office, and also, yes, Elon Musk's team. Elon Musk has offered to put his technical experts on this to figure out how this number was inadvertently added to the chat. Again, to take responsibility and ensure this can never happen again. Caitlin.
I have two questions. One on a follow-up on something you just said. But since we have these messages released, and you said that the president has now personally reviewed them, at the chat at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote 14-15 strike drones on target, and in all caps he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay.
Philip.
And on my follow-up on what you had just
No,
said.
go ahead, Philip.
I have a
Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up.
The
Philip,
Vice
go
I have
ahead.
a follow-up on something you
Express
just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsberg.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I have called on you.
The
Thank you.
Vice President seemed to express some frustration that Europe wasn't doing more to police waterways in their backyard, noting in that signal thread that 40% of European trade goes through the Suez Canal. Does the President share that opinion and frustration? And then going forward, should the Europeans be responsible for policing that waterway?
Well, the president was asked this question yesterday by the pool in the cabinet room, and he answered this question. He said yes, he believes that Europe has been, as the vice president put it, freeloading on the backs of American taxpayers and off the backs of the United States of America, and he wants to ensure that Europe pays their fair share. He's always been very honest and upfront about that, and I think the vice president shares those concerns with him as well.
And then one more.
Sure.
You know, enlisted soldiers, sailors, and Marines would face consequences if they shared this type of information inadvertently with a reporter. Can you tell us more why the president is so willing to give Mike Waltz a mulligan here?
Again, I have now been asked and answered this same question using different language multiple times. If anybody has another question, there's a lot of different things going on in the world. We have tariffs possibly being implemented later today. The president is going to talk about that at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for taking my question. I wanted to first and foremost thank the administration for the election integrity executive order, because so many journalists for 4 years were banned from talking about this very subject. So thank you to the administration for that. My question is, yesterday President Trump, when signing the order, said that there is more to come when it comes to election integrity. Would that include same-day voting and hand-counted paper ballots? And why are Democrats so against election integrity measures like obviously proof of citizenship when it comes to voting in a United States election?
Well, it's a very good question. You'll have to ask the Democrats why they're against so many common sense things, not just mandating voter ID. Why are they against men and women's sports? Why are they against deporting foreign terrorists from American soil who have been designated a foreign terrorist organization? I'm referring to Tren de Aragua. As for the election integrity executive order that the president signed yesterday, this is in an effort to restore trust in American elections. There were more than 10 steps taken, 10 executive actions taken throughout this one order. It directs the department, or the attorney general rather, in Homeland Security to prevent non-citizens from any involvement in administering elections. There's also another host of actions. We can provide the fact sheet for you, but it's a very strong election integrity executive order, and the president would also like to see Congress do something about this very important issue as well. Sure, go ahead.
Caroline, the Republicans and Democrats alike have been expressing some concern about the frequency with which senior Trump officials have been using the Signal app. Has there been discussion, or will there be a review about how often they use Signal, and if you could explain to us how they might be considering other applications to get away from something like this happening again?
Sure. Well, again, first of all, Signal has been an approved app for government use. It's an encrypted app, and as I said, it's the most safe and efficient way of communicating, especially when people can't be in a skiff or inside a room physically together. I think, as the president said yesterday, he wishes that everybody could be in the room, and it's our goal to ensure that everybody can be. But again, no classified information was discussed in this chat, and any time classified information is discussed amongst high-level officials across this administration, secure lines of communication are used, including, by the way, our special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who I understand the Wall Street Journal erroneously reported that he was on this Signal chat on a personal device while in Moscow. That is absolutely false. Steve Witkoff did not have his personal device, nor did he have his government device with him. He was given a classified, protected server by the United States government, and he was very careful about his communications when he was in Russia. So rest assured to the American public, this administration is taking every precaution when it comes to protecting our national security. And that's why the American people reelected this president, because they know that our national security is in good hands with the President of the United States. Speaking of the Vice President, I understand he's going to be speaking any moment now. I would hate to counter-program the Vice President of the United States. You'll also hear from the President at 3 o'clock. He will be honoring women's history at the Women's History Month celebration. We have a lot of great women across our cabinet who will be in attendance, so we'll see you all there. And then you'll also hear from the President again at 4 o'clock when he talks about tariffs. So plenty of time for more questions. Sorry it's a bit shorter today, guys. We'll see you later.
Alrighty, guys, that was Carolyn Levitt in the White House press briefing. Got us genuinely nothing. Got us almost nothing, considering the reporters couldn't stop asking about this ridiculous Signal app, a story that will be out of the news in approximately 12 minutes. Absolute nonsense. She got asked the same question like 6 times, and she got asked the same question like 12 times about the Signal thing. Caitlin Collins, like usual, tried to make a spectacle of the situation, because that's what Caitlin Collins does. That's what Caitlin Collins... Oh, what do we got here? We got J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is speaking at the moment. We're gonna throw it over to J.D. real quick. Give me 1 second.
These, used car dealerships outside of Marine Corps bases. You know what I'm talking about? And I remember when I was probably a 19-year-old kid, I was going to buy a used Honda Civic at one of those used car dealerships. And the dealership was kind enough to offer me the low interest rate of 21% to buy that used car. And it was a Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, Gunny Arledge, who said, you know what? Why don't you stop being an idiot, go to Navy Federal Credit Union and get a better deal? And Gunny Arledge saved me from making a terrible mistake. And that's what the Marine Corps does. That's what you all do, from the NCOs to the officers here. You guys help form our young people into United States Marines. And that is, I think, the best thing the Marine Corps does for the United States of America. I'm proud of all of you. As General Chuck Krulak said, the Marine Corps does two things. It wins battles, it wins wars, and it makes Marines. And that's a pretty good damn thing to do for the United States of America. So I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud of what you do. And most of all today, I'm proud that I think under new leadership, the Marine Corps and the entire United States military is headed in the right direction. And that's why I'm here today, to talk a little bit about what we're going to do, talk a little bit about President Trump's vision for the United States military, and importantly, after I do that and I serve some chow at the chow hall, I'm going to go shoot some guns, right? So here's the thing. Under President Trump's leadership, we believe in a very simple principle. We don't care who you are, where you came from. We don't care what skin color you are. We care about excellence, and we care about patriotism. And if you are awesome and you are a patriotic young Marine, then we are going to do everything that we can to make you the most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen, and that is what we're doing every single day. No more quotas, no more ridiculous mumbo-jumbo, no more diversity trainings. We believe the real strength and the real diversity in the United States Marine Corps is that you all come from every walk of life, come from every corner of America, and you have got the strength and the purpose to win the nation's wars, and that is what the Marine Corps is going to do, just like it's done for damn near 250 years. Now, speaking of that, as my dear friends, and as a lot of you know, well, maybe you don't, because a lot of young faces out here. That's the thing. You know, I'm 40 years old now, and I realize that compared to when I joined the Marine Corps, I'm an old-ass man now. But here's the thing. The best friends that I've ever made in my life, I made in the Marine Corps. People who came to my vice presidential inauguration and the president's inauguration just a couple of months ago are people that I first met in boot camp, or first met in follow-on school, first met at my first duty station. People who have held my children when they were little babies. People who I've helped welcome new children into the world. You guys have no idea that the people standing to your left and to your right, these are lifelong friends. They're going to follow you around, whether you want to or not, for the rest of your life. And I think that's one of the great blessings of the United States Marine Corps. And one of the things I learned from my great Marine friends, they remind me, is that this November, of course, our great Corps is going to celebrate 250 proud years. And as I know, because I've been to a few Marine Corps birthday balls myself, I'm sure it'll be a total sober, no alcohol celebration for the Marine Corps' 250th birthday. But from one Marine to another, let me just say that we are excited to celebrate the Marine Corps' 250th anniversary, 250 years of winning wars, 250 years of kicking ass and taking names. So here's the basic plan. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to invest in the Marine Corps and the entire United States military like we never have before. Over $1 trillion we're going to invest in building up the manufacturing base of this country so that you guys, when you do go to war, when you have to go to war, you've got the best weapons anywhere in the world. We know from the long history of the United States of America that while the leading edge of American power is you all, it really matters what you guys have in your hands and what you guys have on your backs when you go to war. And so I promised you, from the President of the United States, we are going to send you, if we have to send you to war, with the best equipment, the best ammunition, the best weapons, and we are going to empower you guys to win when you have to. That's the purpose of the United States Marine Corps, am I right? So that's what we're going to do. And of course, I got some good news. You know, over the last few years, some of the military branches had some recruitment problems. Not the Marine Corps, actually. The Marine Corps was the one branch that consistently met its recruitment goals, and that probably has something to do with the fact that the Marine Corps is a little bit smaller, as you all know. But this year, now, we have got Every single branch of the United States military for the past 2 months has been meeting its recruitment goals, because I think I see in your faces what we're seeing all across the country: a renewed sense of patriotism, a renewed commitment to excellence, and that is what is going to make the United States military the strongest fighting force anywhere in the world. So thank you all. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for being part of 250 years of great American tradition. Thanks to you guys for being willing to put on the uniform and serve your country. You know, I always say that the most important thing that we have in this country, the most valuable natural resource, we got plenty of oil, we got plenty of natural gas, we got great mines and minerals, but the most valuable resource that we have in the United States of America is you all. It's young people who are patriotic and dedicated, who are willing to put on the uniform of the United States and risk your lives to defend your fellow citizens. That's an amazing thing. I know it's easy to forget when you go about doing your jobs and you're just worried about getting through the day, worried about getting to the next week, worried about doing the good job that all of you do, that what you're doing is an amazing thing. And it's easy to forget that because you don't always have the Vice President dropping in to say thank you. But I want you to remember that whether you serve another couple years in the United States Marine Corps, whether you're at the beginning of a 20 or 30-year career, that we respect you, we thank you, and this Vice President and the President of the United States know that you guys are the most important resource that we have in the United States Marine Corps, in the United States of America. So thank you all, and God bless you. And the final thing I want to say here is I was actually, and I know I was late. It's funny. That is not Marine Corps time, my friends. I remember Gunny Arledge always told me, if you're 5 minutes early or 10 minutes late. I'm sure you guys have heard that phrase. Well, what does it mean when the Vice President is 2 hours late? I guess I'm on time, because who the hell is going to get me in trouble, right? But here's the thing, my friends, is I left. The reason I was a little bit late is because I was in the Oval Office talking to the President. And I stood up and I said, "Sir, I know we're in the middle of something, but the Marines at Quantico are waiting on me." And he said, "Oh, I didn't realize that. You got to get out of here. You got to get out there." And I said, "Do you have a message you want me to deliver?" And the President of the United States said he wanted me to tell you two things. First of all, that he loves you. And second of all, that he's proud of you. So let me echo the President. Let me echo a grateful nation. You guys just keep on doing what you're doing. We love you. We're proud of you. And we're going to support you every single step of the way. God bless you, Marines. Semper Fidelis.
We'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list. And the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And the eagle will fly. And it's gonna be...
All righty, guys. That was J.D. Vance speaking in Virginia to the Marines. Obviously, J.D. Vance served in the United States Marine Corps before going to Ohio State, and then before I think he went on to Yale. That was, of course, as I said, J.D. Vance speaking to the Marines there. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place every day here, 1 p.m., bringing you guys live news for everything that is happening. A couple quick updates tomorrow on the show. Really excited. I'm going to have my friend Paula Scanlon on. You guys know her. She unfortunately had to suffer through being a teammate of Leah, formerly William Thomas, I guess still William Thomas, at the University of Pennsylvania. We're going to be talking all things men and women's sports. Donald Trump cutting the funding from some of the top universities if they do not comply with the men and women's sports policy. Also, we're going to be talking about her work with Early Vote Action. Early Vote Action, their goals in the state of New Jersey, as many of you are from the state of New Jersey, or you live in the surrounding areas. So make sure you guys keep it locked in here tomorrow. Paula Scanlon, she's awesome. It's so great. I love to highlight young voices in the movement, and Paula is certainly an up-and-comer in that. So keep it locked in here for that. Tomorrow, also on Friday, we are going to be joined by my friend Tatiana Ibrahim. We're going to be talking about the New York prison guards, a story that is not getting enough attention around the country, but a story that is going to be a big problem before it gets better. We're going to be joined by Tatiana on Friday. Super great. JD in 28 can beat the auto pen. Yeah, I do think he's able to do that. Guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share the video out. Let's get to that 300 mark by the end of the show. Also, guys, do me a favor, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out, loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on. There's going to be so much activism happening over the course of the next several months. As soon as spring gets here, guys, a lot's going to be happening, particularly here locally. That's the best way to support the movement. And for anybody who picks up anything today, you will get a free Loud Majority USA decal with every order so that we can show the world that we are no longer the silent majority. We are, in fact, the loud majority. Also, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out that LFA-TV store and consider becoming a monthly donor over at lfatv.us. That's how we keep the lights on over here. So, a couple more stories that I want to make sure that I get to before we check out today. Also, there has been a calamity going on Capitol Hill today. There's been an utter calamity going on Capitol Hill about PBS. We are going to break all of that down for you guys tomorrow as well as some crazy leftist who apparently attacked a bunch of Turning Point USA members at the University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns. This just in from Charlie Kirk. Just in, our chapter president, Paige Newman, and her secretary, Grace, were just assaulted while tabling at the University of Texas. Go Hook 'em Horns. The attacker took a metal bike lock and slammed it against Paige's head. Apparently, let's get this crazy person up on the screen right now. Took a bike lock and slammed it into the face of one of the representatives from TPUSA. Paige just filed a police report with the university. Thankfully, Paige and her vice president, whose phone was also destroyed, are both doing physically okay. There are videos. She bashed her in the head with this bike lock. Here is the video. Bashed her in the face with the bike lock. Well, we've got breaking news on that story. That radical leftist has just been arrested. This from the Post Millennial. Breaking news update. Arrest made after Turning Point USA president violently assaulted by a leftist wielding a bike lock, because nothing says radical liberal like beating someone with a bike lock. The only way that could have been more radically left is if they took a giant piece of tofu and threw it in somebody's face. The University of Texas campus police have arrested the suspect involved in the attack against Paige Newman. Charlie Kirk confirmed the arrest on social media, stating that the individual has been placed in jail. According to the Collin County, Texas Department website, the suspect's name is... Look, I'm not trying to be rude here. I'm going to screw this name up. Liam Tan Tam Huen. A biological male. Oh, it was a trainee. Go figure. I didn't see that coming. So, Liam Tom Tam Huen. I'm not being a dick. I just, his name's not His name's not Chris Johnson. I'm just saying. The Turning Point USA chapter president. Sorry, I'm not laughing at the story. I'm laughing because I'm an idiot. Paige Newman and her chapter president were tabling when the individual approached him with a bike clock and launched the attack. Trans-Tifa continuing to run roughshod. Oh, and this is in Texas. This is in Texas. Bash somebody in the head with a bike lock. Radical leftists can't ever stop doing what it is they do because they're violent people and they're miserable. They're miserable. Must be all those cross-sex hormones. Just saying. I'm just saying. Charlie Kirk added that Newman had filed a police report. We said that. He also praised the Turning Point USA students, stating our Turning Point USA students are the tip of the spear on college campuses. Across the country, they are brave, they are strong. Thank God for these amazing students. According to Turning Point USA, the suspect is believed to be the same individual who recently disrupted an event featuring primetime Alex Stein. However, this connection has not yet been confirmed. Video shows the suspect biking through Stein's camera and mic setup, kicking over gear and continuing his or her way, because who the hell really knows. Although I do think it's rather funny that, and look, because this person is violent, we're going to have some fun with them. Because why the hell not? Because nothing says you're a man like wearing a bra. Just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Because, you know, obviously when you are someone suffering from mental illness, if you're a man suffering from mental illness, you tend to put on a bra. Just saying. I don't know. Such is life. It's kind of the way things go. So it's good to see the Trans-Tifa is actually being arrested for their violent threats, bashing somebody in the head with a bike lock. Well, you know, at least they're riding their bike and they're being consistent with green energy policy, because some of them have been out there destroying the electric vehicles, as we've shown numerous times. Here is a video. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. Here's a video of a very fat man, a very, very fat man, a gargantuan man, a huge, huge, huge man, riding his four-wheeler into a Tesla. Now, guys, I'm not one for vandalism. I'm really not. But if you're going to vandalize something, you think you might not want to do it on something that's got like 87 cameras on it. Here is Fat Albert running his four-wheeler. And I want to be clear. Nothing you own, nothing you have, no piece of equipment you have is working harder than the tires on this four-wheeler. I'd just like to say that man has some exquisite breast. They're nice. They're nice. I mean, look, if you're going to be a vandal, I can make fun of you. I think that's, you know what, Chad, what do you think? Is that an acceptable rule? If you're going to vandalize other people's property, am I allowed to make fun of your giant breast? Am I allowed to do it? Hey. I don't know. Maybe I'm not allowed to. Maybe I'm not allowed to do that. What do you guys think? Yes. Sherry says yes. Now I'm doing it. 100% good. I'm liking that the chat is agreeing with me here that I'm allowed to make fun of that man's gigantic breasts while he is... First off, what is this? I'll put this over here. I'll let it cover me real quick. What is this contraption? What is that? Like, that looks like a homemade four-wheeler. What do you think the PSI is in those things? I mean, and also, does he have, I don't know, what are those bagpipes on the back? Or is it a scooter? Also, is that a really small backpack? Or is it a regular sized backpack on a gigantic human? Dude, that big can't drive a custom four-wheeler. I know. Those poor shocks. I mean, I tell you what, whatever suspension he's got on that thing, should use that as a damn ad. Buy our shocks. They can hold the giant fat man while vandalizing things. I think it's a man. I got to be honest. Nancy says, I got you rolling. That's right. You know, Messianic Mick. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing, but judging by the looks of him, there seems to be an aggressive amount of padding around his nether region. I don't know. You think that's a woman? Could it? What do you guys think? Chat, what do you think? Man or woman? We got like 40 seconds left. We got like 40 seconds left of the show. Is that a guy or is that a woman? I'm just going to put this bad boy on loop real quick. We got like 40. Is that a man or a woman? What do you think? Let's see what we got here. As guys, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Make sure you go to lfatv.us. Make sure you go to loudmajorityusa.com. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. All that good stuff. We had big number today. I'm liking it. Supersized meals. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I got to stop the chat. Idaho Green Eyes. You win. Supersized Meals on Wheels. A lot of people think it's a woman. I don't know. Idaho, where was that? Idaho Green Eyes. You win comment of the day. Comment of the day. Guys, Will Johnson's coming up next. I want to thank everyone. I forgot I still had this thing on the damn website. I still have this damn thing on the screen. Guys, hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door. Will Johnson coming up next. I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow with Paula Scanlon. You're not going to want to miss that. Live 1 p.m. Until then, everybody, stay loud.